Before this video starts, I'd like to give a shout out to our latest subscriber, Masnat87. If you'd like the chance to have a shout out, be sure to subscribe. Hey guys, and welcome to another Eye Contrast video. Codemasters F1 2017 is just around the corner, so I'm going to fill you in on all the new features you'll want to know in this next installment of the Formula 1 series. This video will cover content from classic cars to career mode and some online stuff, so if you're interested in that, be sure to stay tuned. Now let's jump into the video. Starting off with classic cars, I'm not going to spend too much time on this as there's been news out for a while, but nonetheless, here's a list of the announced 12 cars that will appear in F1 2017. We know that one way to drive these cars is during career mode. You will be approached by a rich guy named Jonathan, and he will ask you, being a pro driver, to race his classic cars in challenges, which include the Overtake Challenge, Pursuit, Checkpoint, and Time Attack. It is to be known that classic cars can be raced in single and multi-class races and can be raced all at the same time. I'm sure this will give a lot of ideas for some league races, and I'm really excited for that. But now it's time to get into the good stuff, which is the career mode, and let's see all the features we have for this. Starting off with helmets. Helmets can now be changed at any time during the career mode. Codemasters have held a helmet competition for all sorts of designs to create more variety in the game. This will help gamers to decide which helmet they would like to be represented by during the career mode. Customizing your helmet still involves choosing a pattern and changing its color, but it's still unknown whether or not we can add sponsors to our helmet as well. I believe if they allowed us to add sponsors to our helmets, it would add another realism to the game, but still it remains unannounced. The F1 official logo cutscene is now introduced into the game for transitions, but in career mode there seems to be a weird pixelation and crackling transition, which I hope they change because I really don't like it. You can now see how much a team respects you as a driver and where potential contracts may come from. Also, your performance slider with the team now has more increments, allowing you to have more bad luck with races and not be fired. But perhaps it's harder to outperform the team's expectations in, say, a Mercedes. A new GUI has been added for basically about everything, along with a new difficulty slider for the AI. Now you can control how difficult the AI is precisely and match it directly to your skill level. The research and development part of the career mode is where things start to get a little bit more complicated. With 115 new upgrades, it's a lot more in depth, and it will take you a very long time to get anywhere near that fully upgraded car. Even with maximum effort being put into practice programs, it is said that it may even take around 8 seasons to get fully near completion. Research and development takes the form of a skill tree where the hexagons are the smallest upgrades, working your way up to the square upgrades, and then the rectangle upgrades are the biggest ones. Now, upgrades can fail, and the bigger upgrades are more likely to fail, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're also worth a lot more money. So it's a lot more riskier to go for a bigger upgrade than to upgrade a smaller portion of the car. The skill tree goes in 4 directions of car performance. This includes the chassis, engine power, reliability, and aerodynamics. You can also allocate tokens of reliability to every path of the skill tree. This will increase your chances of an upgrade not failing. Although it is suggested that after an upgrade does fail, the second time you purchase that upgrade that did fail, it won't fail again. This year the teams start a lot lower on the development graph, so that means they're going to improve a lot more throughout the career mode. While in real life the Ferrari and Mercedes are very close in terms of performance, in the game on top of the leaderboard we have Mercedes edging Ferrari by a slightest amount, so that means that Mercedes have the upper hand at the start of the career mode. To earn some research and development points, you got to participate in the practice programs, and with that being said, there has been 2 newly added practice programs for us to try out. This includes the fuel saving run and the strategy run. The fuel saving run will have us out on track trying to beat a certain amount of time while saving a certain amount of fuel. And in turn the strategy run will have all elements of racing included in it. The power unit has also become a lot more in depth this year, and we have to look after all parts of the engine. This includes us having to maintain the internal combustion engine, the MGUK, the MGUH, energy store, turbocharger, and control electronics. All engine parts wear at different rates, and failure to look after them will result in grid place penalties. You're going to need to be strategic as to when to fit these new parts though, because it does leak session time. You do not want to be adding new parts to the car during a qualifying session. Moving on now, another feature that wasn't included in previous games is the ability to have no penalties. That means having the option to choose no penalties during a race, whereas we could only have regular or strict before. Emma Jenkins, your agent, will now visit you in an office for more private events, but will still visit you in the hospitality area. So if you get fired or promoted, it will happen in that office. The person in charge of your research and development will also visit you in a lab with several other people working on computers, and walking through the team's paddock will certainly give this game a journey feel. The hospitality area has also been recreated with different backdrops for each track. What remains unannounced is interviews during the weekend from the press, which I hope they add to create a more immersive experience as they did in 2010. There has been numerous improvements to the damage model, starting with the rear tyre tethers that have been added to the cars. Upon impact into a barrier, the barrier will act realistically to absorb the car. Also, rubber and dirt can flick up onto your visor if you go off the racing line and take an excursion into the grass. They've also redone the foliage of the grass to add more depth to the game. Another exciting thing they've done in F1 2017 is revamp all the tyre models. This means if you go off track, the dirt and gravel picks up on certain grooves of the tyre, not just all over it. You can also visibly see the graining and blistering on your tyres as well. You can also pick up punches from debris laying out on the track. This leads me into talking about the new upgrades of the safety car. Safety cars can come out for a crash, a stranded car, a lot of debris on the track, or if the weather is too treacherous for the cars to drive at a safe and decent speed. Majority of the tracks have also been revamped with new skins and more undulations such as USA, Japan and Hungary. New track layouts are also a new feature of the 2017 game. These will be included in the Japan, USA, Bahrain and Britain circuit. Another thing to note is they've now allowed us to use Monaco at night time, which is so exciting because we can have classic cars at night time at Monaco to create some sort of ultimate challenge, and I just can't wait. Another major part that's been improved in this year's game is the handling model. The handling model has been improved significantly, it has been said. You can be a lot more accurate in the corners. Also, with the added downforce of the new 2017 cars, it should be an absolute joy to drive, going faster and more stable through corners such as Maggots and Beckett's, 93R and Eau Rouge. Although it remains to be seen how much of a lack of downforce when following another car closely affects the handling. If you lock up your brakes, you will go straight on and it's a lot harder to recover from this year. The graphics have been improved to a whopping 4K at 60 FPS on the latest gen consoles, including the Xbox One and the PS4 Pro. The effects have been improved in the game, such as lens flares from the sun coming down onto the car and more realistic shade as the sun glistens through the trees. Cars have had their T-wings added since earlier trailers where it hasn't been seen, as well as minor car details such as the small visor on the Mercedes having that jagged edge. All air ducts of the cars and a bunch of other minor details in the cars are all unique, including the steering wheels. Names and numbers haven't been added to the shark fins yet, but I expect them to do this before the game is released or in an early patch, so don't worry too much. Pit stops have also been remastered. You now have to slow down for the actual pit stop and launch once the jack has been dropped by engaging the clutch. If you don't stop for your marks, then expect a slower pit stop. Upon reaching the pit lane, you must activate the pit limiter and of course deactivate it as you leave the pit lane. Now here's the part that's most important to probably everyone, and that is the online features. It's been announced that there will be an XP system for F1 2017 online that rewards clean driving and deters being an absolute numpty in online lobbies. A good example of this is basically everyone ever in an online lobby in 2016. With this XP system, I guess it has to be said that there will be leveling and of course a leaderboard. Various online improvements have been added, such as better netcode to prevent issues such as the side pod glitch or driving near another car and being turned into even though the cars never touch and ruining the only league race you'd ever win. Well, now you can say goodbye to that because it's all gone. Spectator slots have now been added so you can commentate over races without actually have to be in the race, as well as added support for joining races. With this, they may include a view replay button, which is fantastic for league races wanting to capture their gameplay. Another thing Lee Mather did say for the hardcore game is we can now see a server list of lobbies. Does this mean that we have dedicated servers for F1 2017? That remains to be confirmed, but I really hope they do. Lee also hinted at cross-platform compatibility between leaderboards for time trial as such, so we can compare ourselves to everyone in the world. And with the introductions of this in Dirt 4, a recent Codemasters game, it would be silly if they didn't include it into F1 2017. Thanks ever so much for watching. I think I'm going to wrap it up there. If I've forgotten something important, be sure to let me know in the comments, along with if you're going to buy the game or what you're most excited about. If you'd like to see more content like this, be sure to comment, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.